Hi everyone, and welcome to, well, it's a new thing, actually. It's not Hollow's Fight Club exactly. We're going to be playing through The Sins of Grisham Priory, and it's coming up really soon now, the actual crowdfunder campaign, but before we do that, you can still pick up that quick start for free at rrdgames.com/hollows. So, this is like I said, brand new for us. We're really excited. We want to show you the whole quick start instead of just the combat and all of the cool nitty gritty bits and bobs that have to do with that. So you get a little bit of a taste for what Hollows is going to be like. And then, while the crowdfunder is going, we're going to continue to play so you can continue to suffer with us. I mean, enjoy it. I'm going to pass it right over to Grant, who's going to be our GM.
Hello, good afternoon, good morning, good evening. I think that's all of them. And welcome to this, as CJ's explained. We're going to be playing through Grisham Priory, the quick start, which you can download, just to sort of get just to show you how Hollows works, really, in a slightly more robust fashion than whatever we can broadcast live on a Wednesday night. I am joined by some fine people from Rowan, Rook and Deckard. We've recruited them from in-house. Some of them you recognise, one of them you won't. Which is Christopher Edward Taylor.
Hello.
This is Chris with the big hands. He's the co-author of Hollows and doesn't appear on live streams due to, what was it, a sort of a Rumpelstiltskin-esque contract? What was the deal?
Yeah, if anybody learns my true name, then I disappear.
Oh no.
So,
We're also joined by Chant and Elaine and CJ, who will all be playing characters. And we're going to make those characters today. We have done a little bit of I'll part the curtain here. We've done a little bit of pre-pro to make sure that we're not all, I guess I'll play anything, because that wouldn't make for very good footage. So we do have a rough idea of what characters we're going to play. So without any further ado, let's get started. First up, you're going to need to pick out what weapons you're fighting with. The weapon's going to form the core of your character. And then after that, we can put in like motivations and beliefs and faces and names and all sorts of nonsense. Like the stuff that's out of focus behind the weapons. Chris, why don't we start with you? What are you thinking of playing and why?
I'm thinking shotgun pistol.
Mm-hmm.
The main reason for that is I love the shotgun because the state change between loaded and unloaded, rather than having ammunition, is much more risky for, like, it's a risk-reward thing. And I really enjoy that, and I'm taking pistol to almost entirely back up the shotgun.
In case for some reason it gets unloaded?
In case for some reason I forget to put a shell in it and I've run out of ability to just hit them with it.
What sort of forms?
I'm taking the repeater, so I get the option to flip a coin every time I shoot it to see if it stays loaded.
I will also say, those of you who are, if you download the Quick Start or wish to download it and play along with us, you won't have things like the shotgun because it's a slightly more complicated weapon than we could fit in the Quick Start. So in the Quick Start, there's effectively pre-gen characters, but because of the way Hollows works, you're still going to be picking your abilities, and as you play through the game and beat entities, you'll be able to pick fresh abilities and sort of build your character a bit like a MOBA as you go. You don't need to do this bit, basically. You pick one of the nice characters with the backgrounds and do that, you'll be fine. We're using an adapted version of the Hollows Fight Club character creation, which is, I think, probably the most robust character creation document we have at the moment, given that everything else is in about 8 Google Docs running around in the back garden. Cool. Shotgun, pistol, lots of damage.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. Chant.
I'm going to take book and sword for 2 reasons, one more serious than the other. And the serious reason is because I really like how support plays in Hollows. And with the combination of sword and book, I can be a threat magnet and also then do something to thank other players for standing near me while I attract threat and danger to myself. The slightly less serious version is because I want to see if I can build an absolutely weedy, pathetic character, still have them bring value to the group, and survive more than one fight. And I think I can do this. I think I can play this feeble, broken human that I love to play and have it work in this game. So let's find out.
Yeah, I think of all the people who I've spoken to, you're the best at hollows. So let's see how it goes.
That's quite a weighty mantle. Thank you.
You're certainly the most frustrating to play against.
Yeah, so I have picked the book and the knife because I like them. I wish I could give you a better answer. I've read them all and I think they're really lovely. And I'm that fun and frustrating tabletop role player that likes to put story first. So
plus also you dressed up as a hunter with a book and a knife for the promotional videos.
I wasn't gonna
probably be linked somewhere above this on the page.
I wasn't gonna admit that was my but
I think it's really apparent it's you and me wandering around a fairly nicely appointed manor house.
yeah.
The character came first.
We definitely we were going to hire actors, and all I'll say about that is we had to cross a few things off the shot list when it turned out to be us. So I am doing book and knife because I really like book, and I think that it's really kind of helpful to have two people that can do some healy bits actually. And I am doing knife because I like dexterity, like swiftness, rather than well, I mean, I like it all, but I'm really kind of leaning into that sort of fast rather than powerful vibe, and I wanted to see what that plays like. So and there is a shot that may or may not make it into the end where I stab the book with a knife, so it's great.
Closest thing weapons have to kissing.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, I'm the vibes player, guys. I don't know if we've picked up on that from this entire ramble, but I'll pass it back.
Elaine.
Hello. I think for myself, I will be going for the bludgeon and the armor, largely because I hear a lot about how there's lots of MMO inspiration and everything that's gone into like the fight mechanics for Hollows, and if anyone has played any games with me, I'm always the person who plays the tank. I like to be up front, I like to get hit in the face, support the party, and generally just be, be big strong person in armor with big heavy thing that gets hit a lot, and
I really like the one you play a tank in an MMO. Often when it goes wrong, it's someone else's fault rather than yours.
Oh, it's never the tank's fault. Yeah.
Absolutely not. No.
Absolutely
like you've got to stand in roughly the right place, and that's about as much. Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
But then again, I've had Chris carrying me through every MMO for the last 10 years as healer.
This is true. You're welcome.
Thanks, man. Cool.
And in general, I love just being a big, herbo cheerleader for the party. If anyone watched the Heart, the Dagger live stream as well, similar vibes. That's just my favorite type of character to play, so that's what I'll be doing.
One of the few dungeon crawl body horror games where you insisted on serving everyone breakfast.
Wall bacon.
Wall bacon.
Wall bacon, yeah.
Walls bacon? No.
A little off the skirting board, please.
Yeah.
I was just a sad, absent dad, and you were like, what if I was wholesome? And I appreciate that.
Yeah. A little bit of wholesome is always good in the most grim dark of games. So we'll see if we can bring that to Hollows as well.
Mm-hmm. Next up, what I'd like you to do is go through and pick out some abilities from the list. This is probably going to be the most involved part of the process. You get to pick one ability from each weapon at the first tier. I think there's 6 abilities for each weapon at tier 1. Used to be 5, and then I did one playtest where all the players kept missing a lot, and so I wrote on a miss abilities for every single weapon at 2 a.m. and kicked them into the document. But I think it's worked out quite well. Chris, I believe you've been cheating and working ahead of time.
Yes, technically I have been.
What are you going for?
I am going for where are we? Momentum with the pistol. Once per round, when you inflict wound damage, restore 2 resolve. And then the shotgun gets kicking and screaming. When you're in close, when you reload, make an immediate 1/1 attack with hard.
Okay.
And the level 2, tier 2 one is pay the price when I suffer wound damage. If my shotgun is loaded, I must make an attack with it.
Oh, mate, sorry, we're not doing tier 2s at the moment. We're just doing tier
Oh,
1s.
you said tier 2s?
Oh, that's the Fight Club rules.
Yeah, sorry, you didn't say which document I was using.
No, absolutely.
So I'm just doing the years one, the tier 1s.
Yeah. The Quickstart's not balanced for tier 2, I don't think.
Right.
I mean...
Do you want to find out?
Yeah, it'd be a bit of a laugh, wouldn't it? Yeah, okay, yeah, pick out a tier 2 as well. Go on.
Okay.
So what was that? Is that when you take damage, you shoot them?
Pay the price. When you suffer wound damage when the attack, if your shotgun is loaded, you must make an immediate attack with it.
Good stuff. Okay. Chan.
Can you do CJ first? Because I'm basing my book choices on what CJ takes.
Okay.
I'm basing my book choices on what Chant takes.
Oh no!
No.
I can go first. That's fine.
Well, we can talk through which book abilities you're interested in picking out.
Let me go to book. I will say for my knife, I was thinking of weighted so that I can also attack from ranged with sharp. I think that might be useful. I don't know how much we've got super ranged for Chris, but weighted. There we go.
Yeah, I think Chris is probably going to want to be standing at close so he can get hurt.
True.
Yes, I will be point blank.
So I think I will take weighted so that we've got another option for ranged if necessary. And so let me go to book then, and we'll kind of work between. Do you have a book stat that works well with your sword, Chant, that you'd like to
I'm
use?
leaning towards a sacred book. I'm doing some healing stuff.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I'll while you two are having a look through what they do, I'll read them out for the stream.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Get a handle on that. So in Hollows, you pick a form for each of your 2 weapons, and each weapon has 3 forms which you can access. For the book, we've got which chance probably going to go. That does lower damage, but when you guard, which is when you restore yourself, an ally in the area restores one resolve as well, so you can sort of act as a little bit of a bastion. There's Profane, which has no special effects, but does 2/2 damage, which is as much as a shotgun. It can do it from anywhere on the board, and it does it with Wise versus the entity's weird defense. So generally, usually a bit easier to hurt with that. It's quite adaptable. Then we have Eldritch, which is when you focus in close, the entity suffers 1 resolve damage, which gives you, which is the build of the book where you go and hang around behind or to the side of the entity and go and bother it until someone else kills it. In terms of the abilities, we've got Remake, which is pretty much the only way you can heal wounds unless you leave the fight and go hang out in support. But Remake lets you put wounds back on people at the cost of your own wounds. We have Brand, which lets you attack with the book and then give a grant focus to someone else in your area or yourself, which means that you can support the party while still doing some damage, a bit like your clerics in 4th Ed with their god lasers. We have Leech. While you're in close, when an entity repositions an ally or uses an interrupt ability, and I want to be using those in between every single phase, it suffers 1 resolve damage. So again, that's bothering. We have Ward. Ward doubles the effects of terrain on you, which is great, and you can pass it out to other people as well. So it's useful for establishing that bastion. We have Spur. Focus is an action you can take, which gives you the focus state, and then you spend focus to roll with advantage. There's some other clever stuff that some classes can do with it, but primarily you use it to defend or attack better. What Spur lets you do is give it to other people in your area. It's the easiest way we could do a buff without inventing specific spells. And then finally, the ability on the attack on a miss, or the thing on a miss, is Witness. Once per round, when you miss with an attack, you may focus as an immediate action. So there's so like if you're new to Hollows and you're just sort of coming along and seeing how this all goes, even from those abilities there, you can see how we wanted to write something which interlocked. And so like, oh, I'm gonna I'm going to focus as much as possible. I'm going to stand as close as much as possible. And hopefully, if I'm focusing, I could not die when I roll to defend, and then punish the entity with that. There's a few different tricks you can pull with each weapon, and then you interlay those tricks over each other, and then you interlay everyone else's tricks over that, and then it becomes quite frustrating to play against a really good team.
Just for example, in what you were saying there is a build where you want to miss. You can quite happily just go, actually, I'm going to intentionally throw this stat that lets me do attacks because I get stuff off that, and never hit the monster once.
Which is effectively a sort of humiliation kink, which kind of works in play.
but all you're doing is making it easier for everybody else to kill it. Which is a fun way of doing it.
We've divided up into 3 tiers as well, as we just discussed earlier. We're going to give people 2 tier 1 abilities and 1 tier 2 ability to kind of show off a bit more of what it can do. In the quick start, you pick 2 tier 1s, and then you quickly get some more. It goes up to tier 3, and tier 3 are all really weird, so we haven't published them yet. So, Chant, CJ, books.
Yeah, so you were thinking Sacred, right?
Yeah.
I'm actually a bit torn between Profane and Eldritch, because obviously doing resolve damage is good, but the idea that I could somehow create a character that has book and knife and is ranged is just really wildly appealing to me.
Yeah.
So I think I might try it because it's weird and fun. So I think I'm going to go with Profane. It's one of those things that's like, it's not what you would expect to be able to do with those 2 things, so I think I want to see how far I can take that.
Brand might be a really good book ability of that.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be you're attacking with a book, but
yeah,
you're attacking every round from range, then that gives you some survivability and some buffering. That's lots of things.
I think, so for your tier 1, Chant, are you thinking of going remake, or did you have a different...
Yeah, I'm going to go for Remake, which is a very straightforward healing ability. I take a bit of damage, I make someone else feel a lot better.
Yeah. Also, I've really made some awesome notes for myself. I've said I have a weighted book and a profane knife, so it's going well.
Yeah, absolutely keep that. That's much better than what we wrote.
Yeah. This
is a hidden book.
I'm imagining it's one of those, those book safes with a gun in it.
Yeah.
But it's just a block of lead.
No, it's just your average role-playing game rulebook.
There's 2 real pages on either side to sell it, but that's it. It's just a little book.
This is my attack book. I do really like Brand. I think if I'm really just seeing what I can do that's a little bit unusual with these, I think going kind of full attack on book could be pretty fun.
Yeah, and after the first fight, so as I said, the way Hollows works, after every fight you gain a new ability. So if you're enjoying attack, you can double down on that, or you can round it out with some other stuff. You can see how it plays once we're done.
Beautiful.
Kick the Guardian Hound back into its own grave.
Wait, okay, so we're gonna do, Profane, Brand. Do we want to pick tier 2s right now?
You can pick a tier 2 from either weapon. So
one or the other.
Let's
Okay.
have a look at those.
That makes sense.
And see what's what. So, Chan, do you have any thoughts about the sword?
Oh, lots of thoughts about the sword. So I'm going to take Noble for the sword's form, which means it's kind of a rapier thing, and that means it's very flashy, right? So at any point during my turn, I can place 1 threat on my area, which represents me going, "Hey, big boy, look at me." If I do so, I heal a little bit, which is great, because a lot of this character's build, right, revolves around me getting a lot of threat placed on my area, which Grant is then going to use to tear my limbs off. So a little bit of personal healing, really helpful. And then for my tier 1 ability, I'm going to take Rally, which means when I guard an ally in my area can focus and get advantage on their next roll. So people who are tougher than me, please stand close to me or adjacent, because my tier 2 ability is the Sword's Draw its ire, which means when I guard, I suck in more threat to my area. I'm probably going to spend a lot of time scurrying around to get out of the messes I've made for myself. And someone in an adjacent area restores resolve equal to the amount of threat I have placed.
Full burger. Yeah. around tactical grid. Right. I really like. I like how much focus this party's already giving out. It's gonna look like a fucking Zack Snyder film. Okay, right. That's solid. CJ, we'll come back to you for the knife. Elaine, what are you thinking for your build?
Well, I'm thinking that I'm going to be trying to keep Chance character alive for a lot of this. So I've got, so as mentioned, we're going for armor. I'm going to go for metal, I think, just because it's big and chunky and good. And I can, so the core thing with the armor is that you have this ready status, which is sort of like preparing yourself for, deflecting attacks, protecting allies, etc. And you can expend that on your turn to sort of do various different sort of abilities. So the tier 1 ability I've taken for the armor is Martyr, which is when an ally in your area would suffer wound damage, you can expend your ready. They take no damage, and you take the inflicted wound damage -1. So that'll be handy, I think.
I'd like to know as well, in every single game that we've written, Chris and I, there's an ability called Martyr, which does that because of Chris and the way that he treats relationships.
Beautiful. I love it. I'm not going to go too deep on that because I feel like you need to get out.
You're going to have to because you're playing Hollows.
So
tell us, when did this obsession with martyrdom first begin?
Well, it was a warm day in '93.
On a holiday in the Southern Hemisphere.
Rio, I think.
Cool. So Marta lets you do some proper tanking. And you can also, if you're set up for it, you can do it at -2 wounds, so you can properly look after the boys. Cool. Okay, and for your bludgeon.
Well, I do also have my tier 2 ability for my armor.
Oh yeah. What are you doing?
Which is just goes hand in hand with that. It is distract, which is while you are ready, if an entity hits an attack. Hits with an attack that targets a ranged area, I can expend ready to half the inflicted damage. So this means with Martyr, I can defend people who are close to me, and with Distract, I can defend people who are at ranged. So I'll have I can always, I have to make this choice. I only have my 1 ready token. So I'm going to have this choice every turn of when do I spend it, when is the right time to spend it, which would be really fun. With the way Hollows works, with entities building threats to do big attacks, it's like, feels like in an MMO or whatever, it's like, when do you pop your mitigation? When does the big attack land? And I say no, and I block all the damage, that sort of thing. I think I'm quite keen on. So that should be good fun. For my bludgeon, I've gone for brutal, and because I love the momentum in it, which is every time you roll a critical success, you just gain +1 to your damage until the end of the hunt. So you just, it's entirely sort of crit fishing with this sort of thing. So, but I think it's just fun, this idea. It's quite fire and forget as well. I'm going to be already have a lot of mental load on when I'm tanking hits and everything. So having a nice passive buff that will just, every now and then I'll get a nice kick to my strength. I think that'll be nice. I don't need to stress too much about it.
Hopefully you get a fair amount of focus as well, like just handed out from other people as well, as long as you're standing in the right place, they can help you crit fish a bit better. Cool.
Yeah, that should be really fun. And the core ability for the bludgeon is come out swinging, which means that I no longer get any damage reduction if I'm sheltered, so if I'm like behind cover, etc. But instead, whenever an entity attacks, I can essentially chuck that terrain tag away, and then deal damage equal to the type of terrain it was. Double its listed damage reduction.
It's still DR.
Sorry.
But misunderstood. You get double DR, but only once. Everyone else can sit in terrain and just what's the word? Wait it out or turtle it out. Whereas bludgeon's much more. No, I'm alpha, mate. No, I'm not gonna wait around.
I need it, bruv.
I don't need it, bruv. Yeah. But there's various neat things you can do with that as well as like when you run out of a building, you can give the terrain to someone else in the area you were in, so you can sort of get support in a different way.
Well, that's funnily enough the tier 1 ability I have taken, which is arrogant. Let others make do with what you leave behind. So when I discard a terrain tag, I can give it to another hunter instead. So I can essentially burst from cover, chuck what's left of it to an ally, and all this. So it's the momentum building wrecking ball tank kind of combo thing we've got going on here.
Glorious. Last ability you're going to pick out is CJ for your knife. So your knife does bleeding.
Yes.
Which is the main mechanic of it.
I'm quite between two. I really like Rivers of Blood because when the entity's bleeding, it suffers 2 resolve damage at the end of its turn.
Always nice.
But also, like, Anointed is nice because when the entity's bleeding, if I end my turn in close, I reserve 2 resolve. But because I'm trying to do ranged more than close, I really don't think that's as good of. That's probably my favorite tier 1 from there, but I don't think it really helps with my character.
If you're trying to stay at range,
yeah,
and you're probably going to be a bit squishy if you book knife.
Yeah,
probably a bit sensible to go to something else.
Yeah. So I think they're all really useful in different ways, but I like having it suffer 2 resolve. I think that will end up aiding the group as a whole. So I think I might take Rivers of Blood. As far as tier 2, Chant, were you planning on doing tier 2 book or tier 2 sword?
I've gone tier 2 sword.
Oh, okay.
The library is open.
That's because I like so for knife, I like blood in the eyes, which is while the entity's bleeding, remove 1 threat from anywhere on the grid at the end of your turn. If you're ranged at the end, you remove +1 threat, and if you're support, you remove +2. So that's helpful.
It's kind of a passive control.
Yeah.
But I think that could be quite useful because I think you don't have a spear user, and Chant's the only thing you've got which can manipulate threat.
Yeah.
And
so
that is by pulling it on top of his own weedy head.
There's also rebuke for book, but it involves being in close, which I would have had to probably stack my character a little bit differently and it's a similar effect, but it involves being in close instead of in support or ranged. So I think I'll take the knife. Was it Blood in the Eyes?
Blood in the Eyes, cool. I will say also fun facts for any sort of Follows fans who are watching along. The ability called Blood in the Water, that was an entire subsystem which Chris and I worked on for a year. Where every wound...
the core of the game.
Absolutely. Every wound that was caused either to or by hunters went into a pool, and that determined the tempo of the fight. But it was just too... I don't know, it didn't quite land, so we've just put it here. And that's we've managed to boil it down to a 1 sentence, so maybe it wasn't worth spending a year on.
A year.
Right, so the next thing I need to do is pick out some stats. Your weapons modify your stats, and aside from that, there are 3 stat arrays. There is I've already forgotten what they're called.
Specialist, obsessed,
and jack of all trades.
Jack of all trades. Thank you.
There's a point buy thing, which I don't encourage anyone using because point buy's not for winners. You want stat arrays.
I mean, it's specifically for winners. People who are pointing out that they're winners. Telling other people on forums about how much they win.
I'm more of a winner of this than the original designers.
Yeah.
You can pick out an array, basically. From obsessed down to jack of all trades, you get a tighter focus on stats. And it's about how many eggs you want to put in what basket, really. Every weapon you've got will modify those stats, usually by 1 or 2. And so every weapon usually has it gives you benefits to whatever it is you need to use it, and something else for a bit of color. And similarly, so taking 2 ranged weapons makes you better at both, which is useful, but also means that you probably wind up dying a lot more often. Once you've done that, so once you've picked your array, you're going to split those between stats. They are quick, hard, strong, wise, and sharp. Thank you. Which are all pretty much self-explanatory, aside from sharp, which is like acuity, perception, and shooting things from a distance, that sort of thing, and also like avoiding threats from a distance. We try to make it so every entity targets at least 3 of those. So having a good spread is fine, but pretty much whatever you pick, I will be able to kill you, because that's what the game's about, and it's a bit of fun in it. What else for you to do? You will need to determine your resolve and wounds. We have some derived stats, which is really not very exciting, but it's the only way we could pull it off. You take the highest of your quick, strong, or wise, and then look it up on a little table on page. Well, on a page.
The bottom.
25.
25. Thank you. On page 25, there's also your wound stat. Resolve is easy to get and easy to lose. Think of it like the shields in Halo. And wounds are hard to get and a bit harder to lose. Think of it like the health in Halo. And also you can carry 2 guns like in Halo. And at the moment you're all as robust characters as Master Chief himself. But let's see if we can't round that out a little bit as we move on to... Oh, one more thing. Everyone, please scroll down to page 26 of the document. We're going to pick out some hunt equipment. So hunt equipment is one-shot items which you can use to give you a fun little trick you can do. They are generally not necessarily more powerful than abilities, but they have a big spike, and then you don't get to use them again. If there's anything which calls to you from there, go for it. I will say the man trap and the vitriol are the best, and I need to balance them pretty much.
They are good to the extent that they might come out of the game. So if everybody could
remember, specifically,
we might want to edit this out of the video.
It's like look, they're there now, and it shows that we're listening to the community. We're playtesting. Yeah. Pick whatever you like. If you don't pick vitriol or man trap, then that makes my life a bit easier.
Are we going with 2 hunt items or 1?
It's just the 1. It used to be 2 pieces of equipment, but we've
I'm just double checking.
Folded that out.
Oh, thank God the weighted net exists. I knew there was something that did that. I'm going to take the weighted net, which lets me remove some of that threat I've gathered.
Is it in fiction? Is it an actual weighted net? Have you got some sort of spell, or is it like...
Oh, I think it's some kind of horrible conclave contraption. Like, it's a gun that fires some kind of combined sedative grappling hook nonsense.
Oh, okay. Or like a smoke bomb, but it like stinks. Or like it smells like a threat.
Yeah, definitely something that was made in a lab. Nothing as simple as a net.
Yeah.
We don't do that here.
Chris, what are you going for?
I am probably going to be fairly boring and take Sacred Relic.
Oh.
User restores 4 resolve.
That's an interesting angle on your character. We've got 2 faiths available, and I'll say 3. Well, we've got the crown, in the crown will look after us and protect us all. The Viridians, in that the old gods are dead, and the new gods will rise from the ground to replace them. Or 3, the dead old gods.
I think I'm going with the dead old gods, Sacred Relic. Like it's a bit of tree or something.
Cool. Alright, cool. CJ.
As I'm going to spend the way I'm building this character right now a lot of time in either ranged or support, I think I'm going to go with the first aid satchel.
Cool. I like that. And then finally, Elaine.
I have a choice to make. I could take the shield, which will just simply give me +2 temporary wounds at the beginning of the fight. Quite handy for a tank if I'm going to be taking a lot of hits. And again, it's quite mentally. It's a mental load off. It's just a basic thing. Alternatively, I could take the flare, which is once per fight, just shift all threat tokens onto your area. So really just get that Jurassic Park. Hey, over here, hit me. I'm the tank. Both of which are interesting, but I'm not sure what would be better, because I believe, Chant, you're the one who plays with threat the most in this.
Elaine, what I mostly do is generate threat. I have no means of getting rid of it except Grant using it against us.
Also, you
Okay.
can leave. Is the other thing. You can run away from the problem.
Moving is fine. I can do that, but like, and some other means of moving threat around could be handy. Just saying.
Mhm.
It depends
I
how much
feel-
time you want to spend saving my ass.
That's going to be my job. I feel it's just going to be saving everyone's ass, you know. So I'm here for this. I feel like the flare will hopefully make at least one exciting moment during this playtest. So I think I'm going to go for the flare.
Also, like when we visit the refuge, which we're willing to talk about, you're able to swap out your equipment and stuff like that, so you can play around some different stuff.
Nice.
Right. So we've got the rules down. What we're gonna hopefully gonna do a little bit more than just rules in this. We're gonna do some fluff as well, which is the other half of every role-playing game. We're interested in building up some characters. Yeah, some not necessarily well-rounded characters, but some horrible, fucked up little guys to play around with. So let's see. So Chad, it feels like you've got a strong understanding. You've got some conclave technology. You're a horrible little wizard. Are you thinking of doing
I am a
conclave
horrible
origin?
little scientist, thank you very much.
Oh, so I'm terribly sorry.
This is the modern
That's
age.
Dr. Horrible Little Wizard to you.
We simply do not do bullshit superstitions handed down from our great-grandparents. Those gods are dead and no longer our problem.
We must discover new ones.
And kill them.
We will forge our own, perhaps from within the hollows.
Delightful.
Yes, his name is Merlin Graves because I don't believe in doing anything by halves.
Mhm.
He is, in fact, a horrible little scientist. He's a horrible up-jumped, working-class little scientist who scrubbed and scrabbled and scholarshiped his way through some universities. Showed just enough potential to be recruited by the Conclave, who are a secret society of horrible little wizards, and philosophers, which is in some ways worse. And I think was maybe not
these wizards
required...
do something, mate.
Innit? Philosophers,
The only qualification I've got.
armchair fucking
Thinking
wizards,
about
that's all
thinking.
you are. Yeah, I think was not necessarily not required, but found it advantageous to murder his slightly more intelligent twin brother in order that he be the one recruited by the Conclave instead of them.
Delightful.
Horrible
On the
little
other
wizard.
hand,
We've got so this bit isn't in the Fight Club character creation or really any of the stuff which you've seen so far. Viewer, every character has an origin and a seed, and so this is who you were before you were a hunter. So while Chant's character is certainly connected to the Conclave and possibly still has some sort of sway there, or could be ex-Conclave, or could be actively on the run from the Conclave, but basically you pick one of the factions and you pick that as the most important one from your upbringing or your background. This gives you access to a series of skills, for the want of a better word. Basically, you get a loose selection of circumstances that you roll with advantage during exploration when you trigger them. So, Chant, which ones do you have on that?
That is such a great question.
Thanks, man. I can probably find it. Here we are. You're Crucible, right?
What? I am Crucible, and I'm desperately unclosing tabs that I've closed, and I've got list of ongoing armed conflicts of the 21st century and the mayors of Diomedes, but somehow not the factions document.
That's
Oh,
all right.
hello. Here it is. What can I do? Right, when I lie, backstab and scheme, delve too deeply into things I oughtn't, and so on.
1 second. I'm going to have to tell Maz not to hoover because we're recording.
I love that pretty much every TTRPG designer is probably on some government watch lists for searches such as that.
oh yeah, 100%.
Oh god, yeah. Cool. Can anyone else hear that hoover coming through?
No.
No.
Great. Okay. Next up, Chris, what's your background?
So my character is working for the Crown.
Actively working for?
Technically.
Okay.
He used to be a knight sergeant in the armies. I'm thinking, posh lad that then discovered the horrors of war after thinking it was going to be a jolly good romp.
Like, posh but not terribly rich.
Yeah,
he went in as Knight Sergeant. Yeah,
but it was just like it was a pride thing of you don't go away to war, don't we? And then the utter horrors of war.
Got to do something with the third son.
Knight Sergeant lets me roll with advantage when I give orders, inspire bravery, or look out for danger, etc. And then my seed is that he is a murderer. He killed his commanding officer when they issued an order that got my squad killed.
Before or after?
What do you mean before or after? Sorry.
Sorry. Did you kill your commanding officer to save your squad from the order, or did they all die and then you went back and killed him?
There was an order. They died. Went back to go and kill the.
Tremendous.
Survived that. Went back to go and kill the sergeant.
That makes my life a lot easier. Basically, all these horrible things. So, like Chant's murder of his brother. Merlin's murder of his brother. And the sergeant's murder of his commanding officer. These are their seed, and so every time that you die or every time you come into contact with something powerful and magic, there's a chance that you earn corruption, and it sort of builds up on you. And one of the three things you can get corruption, one of the three outputs of corruption is the seed, and this means that I get to start putting these people's personal hells into someone else's personal hell as a fun bonus challenge. Until you jump to the end of the campaign and Chant's brother is riding the final boss because he's rolled badly. Okay.
It reminds me a lot of Inception. Is it this concept of you're in someone else's dream or nightmare world, but if you're not in control of your own shit, your own nightmares can start to bleed in and change things, and yeah, it's fun to play with.
CJ.
I have created a blue blood, so she was a noble. Her name is Alexandra Rosalie Beckett. She's not really very stable. Her heart is 7. I've done that on purpose. She's a sole survivor. That's her sort of seed. She is the sole survivor of a coup against her family that was staged by a spurned suitor, and her continuing goal in life is to find him and murder him. So
I really like the idea that you have to do that every holiday. You find him and murder him, and then he's back.
Yeah, and I think every time she sort of thinks that she's done it this time.
Was it like a red wedding thing, or was it poisoning? Was it an explosion? How did it happen?
So he was one of the people in competition for her hand, and she turned him down quite what's the word? Kind of ungraciously. Yeah. So he was quite offended by that, and knowing that her family had held a lot of power and had done some things that some people could object to in order to keep hold of that power, he rallied these people and brought them to march on her home and killed everyone.
Pitchforks?
Yeah.
Out.
So.
Alright, yeah, great, cool.
And I think that probably he probably actually let her go, and it was the only person that he let go, and he murdered everyone else, and so that's driven her. Like, she ran at the time because she didn't know what else to do, but ever since she's been consumed with this idea of like, I should have killed him when I had the chance.
Really like the idea of your scene manifesting as like rattling doors and like windows breaking and like the vision of crowds on the outside of every building. That's fun.
Yeah, it's absolutely fine.
That is the other thing about horrors. Is it what if depression and or PTSD gave you superpowers? It's kind of the.
It doesn't. No, we're not going to touch that.
Shittiest X-Men.
Not yet. Hey. The world's shittiest X-Men is Cyclops. So,
that is true.
Finally, Elaine. So we've got 2 crown. So Chris is like, are you connected to CJ's character in any way, or are you like just you both happen to work, or like you both happen to be involved in the movie? I
think my character's the reason he started doing all these Hollows things is literally like the court martial. Like, this is his sentence.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So he goes places he's forced to go. He's told to go here, here, and here. So there could be a link there, but
there was probably social link between the family and
Yeah, if
him
you're
at
both-
some point.
Yeah, your family was definitely better than mine.
Objectively.
Yeah. But I was
Deader
still a
now.
little bit posh.
Yeah.
Mm.
So
Yeah, okay.
Not proper posh.
they'd know of each other at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, you probably bumped absinthe at the same opium
How are you
house.
taking this?
Something like that.
Yes.
Pleasure to
Soiree.
meet you, darling. Yeah, soiree. Thank you.
Yeah.
So we've got 2 crowns. Finally, 2 crowns and 1 conclave. Elaine, who are you thinking?
I think I'm also going to be going conclave, so we'll have 2 and 2.
Okay.
I think for this character we're going Rose, as she is a hollow-born, so that means she was actually born in a hollow, someone's nightmare. If a hollow is created, they can sometimes create sort of these NPCs. What would you call them? Sort of these.
You're a person. You're a person.
Are they
Yeah.
Person
definitely.
now.
Yeah.
person that when I
Much
stare at
as
the
if you
ceiling
were.
at night, yeah. When you stare at the ceiling at night and you're like, am I a person? Am I real? Or what am I? Etc. So, Hollowborn, and I like to think that at some point in the past, potentially Merlin as another conclave member who's a weird scientist guy, pulled her out of the hollow, and because she ended up as a test subject, which is her origin. So this Hollowborn individual who's somehow, retained their cohesion after the hollow they came from has collapsed behind them. They've ended up as a test subject, and through the test subject nature then become sort of the armed muscle, the bodyguard that follows the weedy wizard around to make sure they don't get themselves killed, I think is fun. And for vibes, she's very much based on the old Rosie the Riveter vibe of the we can do it, and it's born on a mechanical assembly line among hundreds of identical individuals that clearly the lord of this hollow was obsessed industrialist or something, and that was her existence while the hollow was around, was just working on this assembly line amongst hundreds of identical Rosies.
The ideal iconic worker.
Yeah, she is toxic productivity manifest, and then
What's
she's
your-
been ripped off the assembly line.
What does your armor look like?
I haven't quite decided yet. It's an interesting question because one of the things I do really love about Hollows is that, the concept of armor. So you get all the abilities and armor and everything, but even in the text it describes armor in these different ways, where one of my favorite is the silk armor can be a lit cigarette, so they can be quite conceptual. So I think it's interesting.
We'll have a
It's
think.
interesting to think of. Yeah.
The last thing which we're going to do before we wrap up this session 0, I think we've got pretty much everything we need now, is working out what your refuge looks like. So the refuge is kind of an interdimensional treehouse / boys club / back room of a pub, which you have access to through Hollows. It is the antithesis of Hollows, I think. Chris, is that kind of what we're working with? It's kind of it's our attempt to have non-toxic masculinity. In the game, so you can make a special little club. No girls allowed, but only do it inside someone else's depression. Girls are allowed.
Only if they also suffer depression.
Yeah. Sorry. No happy people allowed. It's only depressed people in the hollow, only damaged, upset people. But you get to work out what it is, and so we've got a few suggestions for what it can be. But I think we're all fairly intelligent, creative types, and I'd be interested to see whether we think it should. Hey! I think that it would be interesting to have a combination between the Crown and the Conclave and its vibes. What I would like you to do is all of you give me a feature of the refuge. Which can be anything from an adjective to a full paragraph of text about something that's in there, and then between us we will work out what the keeper is. The keeper is an NPC. is the thing. Like the keeper only exists as part of the refuge, and they're a person, and you can chat to them, but they can't really leave. They're about as real as the chairs are. That'll be the first NPC, and then as you play through Hollows and you sort of spend resources to improve the refuge, more NPCs arrive, and so you get what do we have? We have the doctor, the smith, the apprentice, a few other people, until it ends up feeling like the Firelink Shrine. So, Chris or Chan.
Sorry, before we jump into the refuge, can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
Just to bring us together, would anyone mind if Merlin has just fucking attached himself to this crown operation?
Love that.
I think like the Conclave just won't let him do the weird shit that he wants to.
Mm-hmm.
So he's been moved sideways to be someone else's problem, if that's okay.
And would drag Rosie along with him in that case as a sort of take the experiment with you,
take a weird thing with you.
It keeps eating all the screws. Can you take it?
Hammering away, dawn till dusk till dawn.
No one can sleep, just constant hammering. That's like how she ends out. Just
oh, my fucking teeth! Oh, these are sharp. Oh, and the orcs are mussy. Yeah, your character's comedy cockney is the other thing I forgot to mention.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that we probably could have been all sort of. What is our unifying element? I guess.
I think I've got
drumming hands. Who knows?
I think I've got it.
Yeah.
It is a guy who wiped out your family, hollowed, because it was a really horrible thing he did. And so you have scraped together what little resources your family had, sold off the family estate, and convinced the crown to kind of back you to do Hollows cleaning. But actually what you're doing is trying to hunt down your ex-boyfriend and kill him.
Yeah, that sounds right.
In exchange for what you've done.
100%.
So, does that work for people? Like I'd like to imagine that he could be like the... Like, if this were to be a campaign, we would go through and, he would be the boss at the end, which you'd fight, and he would have warped, and then, we can see how it works. But yes, I like that. I think that's fun.
And then Rosie and Merlin could have been brought in, and then also... Chris, what's your character's name? Sorry.
Hasn't got one yet.
Okay. And Chris,
Sergeant Weeks.
Weeks.
Like the period of time.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so Sergeant Weeks, both of those would have been probably brought in by someone who knew of you when Alexandra came in and was like, this is the money, this is what I need to do, I need a team. And so people were like, oh, I know someone, and they were probably brought in that way. And yeah, it's probably this sort of, at least when it was pitched to the crown, it was sort of this front of like, I'm going to get people together to clean the hollows because that's what we need to do. And she's like, where is my ex-boyfriend? I need to kill him.
All right, cool. So it's crown focused. The themes of the crown are decrepit grandeur, mouldering red cloth, relics, skeletons, flagstones, big empty rooms, empty chairs. Dark Souls. It's Dark Souls.
I was gonna literally kind of volunteer something very similar for the Hollow anyway, in that I thought that it's probably posh but dusty.
Refuge. Posh but dusty.
I think it's got a lot of sort of places to sit around on nice chairs, but I think that all of these nice chairs were nice, I don't know, maybe they were nice 40 years ago, but they look like they were nice about 100 years ago by the state of them. And that's kind of how I imagine my contribution there, is it's all just quite aging, but it's still got a little fluff in it.
I'm kind of imagining like the drawing room of a fairly fancy estate, but big and made out of like stone, like exposed stone walls with a fireplace in one wall, one of those like little walk-up bars which has perhaps the butler or something, but the butler's the keeper. And then if we get any other rooms, they can sort of branch off that in the sort of not mansion, but just like hybrid castle mansion.
I quite the idea that like it looks like a mansion, but it's not big enough. Or like,
I was going to suggest, what if it's a mansion and it's really fucking labyrinthine and it's got an excessive number of rooms, but most of them are just uninhabitable. Like
they're just stairs.
Ceilings caved in, stairs go directly into a wall.
Winchester Mystery House.
Yet. Yeah.
I also
like we've got all the space we could want, it's just not useful.
Yeah, I kind of like the idea actually that the rooms are, especially the sort of drawing room with the fireplace in it, are too big. Like there is no ceiling. You can't see the ceiling. It's too dark.
Yes, and like
the room the room isn't like a mile long, but it's just outsized enough that it would be awkward to get up and walk to the fireplace. Do you know what I mean? Like everything's a little bit too spread out.
Everything's too and you're I like that. That's fun.
There's
a lot of dark corners and stuff.
What I'm gathering from this that I really like is the hollow is the manifestation of the feeling that someone has when they walk into a posh place where they don't really fit in.
Oh, refuge. Well, I will say this is the refuge. So you do fit in here. This is ours.
But we like it though. Like, but we like it. We love not fitting in. But that's how that feels to me. It's like everything's just a little too far. Everything's just a little too.
You're not quite sure of the rules.
Yeah, you're not sure, and maybe we like that.
I think there's something fun to like the tension there can be fun, especially if we put the keeper as like a butler, sirs, rather than the sort of innkeeper he normally is.
But also,
so my lad
always appears over your shoulder, just like hello.
My lad is a working class scrub like me, so I think for him this is in some way aspirational. Like, yeah, it's big and intimidating, but he's going to grow into this. This is his place. He's going to feel at home here. And yeah, the butler outranks him now, but surely not forever.
There's also a nice thing we can do of sort of tightening the room a little bit as we can make it cozier and warmer and like rather than just like the blue stone of the walls, the fireplace starts making it more and more red
and start putting in more bookcases to form a room inside the room.
like it actually.
It hugs you.
Reverse goldfish.
Yeah,
it comes the correct dimensions for us.
I was going to say,
you put a goldfish in a fish tank. It grows to the size of the fish tank. You put us in a big room, the room grows to the size of us.
Now I've had goldfish, and they never filled up the whole thing.
They're not.
No,
I waste all the water.
I must have been doing it until it was a beautiful cube.
Yeah.
We should wrap up soon. Elaine, have you got a detail for us about the refuge?
I think it's really interesting for the concept of like this individual who was born in an industrial assembly line to be obsessed. You know, she's this big, strong, like muscular person, but she's like obsessed with like the teeny tiny little flowers or something. There's like these gnarly little roses that are trying to live because everything's kind of ashen and decrepit and dying.
We have
but to her, it's the most.
Garden.
Yeah, so I think for her, it's like the most beautiful thing she's ever seen because it's natural. And the hollow she came from was a metal and slag and whatnot. So that's maybe why she called herself Rose.
Roses in vitro. Or like sort of like preserved flowers in glass, and that could be fun.
Yeah. Trying just like this, little, like when you see like a greenhouse like that's been like stapled onto the side of a building but left fallow for forever, and everything's kind of grey and overgrown, and the glass is so foggy and like stained that you can't see beyond it because this is kind of like a liminal space, so there's nothing beyond the glass. There's just this decrepit like weed.
Raining. Like you can't see out because it's raining so hard against the outside, so it just sort of ripples the
and
view.
That's Rosie's weird obsessive space. It's trying to bring life into this dead little parasitic greenhouse.
Gotta get the garden upgrade for the refuge.
Yeah, I was going to say I love the idea that, I mean, we could still do it in the Quickstart, but if this was like a full campaign, that Rosie would be slowly like improving and cultivating this dead greenhouse until there's things there, like beauty there, and I think that's really cool. I love the whole idea of the hollow growing with them as they kind of come into their own and come into like a comfort here at the Hollow as you upgrade it. So I think the garden upgrade would be really cool for Rosie for that reason.
I've not done this before. We should wrap up soon because we've gone for long enough and we have a deadline to meet. But I really like the element of Hollows where at the end after you meet your characters, there's now this like, hey, can everyone imagine quite a viable house you could all live in?
Mm-hmm.
And like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, sure, yeah. Imagine
it's an infinite stone tomb.
Oh, nice. Right. That's everything we need. We've got the characters. We've got a refuge to visit. We've got a quick start to knock through. I think we should be good to go. So CJ, can you take us out?
Thank you everyone so much for joining us here today for our first sort of session 0 on the sins of Grisham Priory. I really enjoyed all of this, especially creating a refuge, and I'm really excited to see what we do with our characters going forward. You can get the quick start for The Sins of Grisham Priory on our website, rrdgames.com/hollows. No one is going to know why I'm shouting that. And
please leave the first bit in, otherwise that seems fucking deranged, what you just said. /hollows.
I just like to...
That's how you type it.
I like to keep it...
All caps.
I like to keep it, interesting. I like to keep people guessing. Anyway, this is going to be coming up prior to our crowdfunder, but the crowdfunder is coming up really soon, so keep an eye on our socials, keep an eye on our everything, because we're really excited about this and we hope you are too. Coming up next is going to be session 1 of The Sins of Grisham Priory, where we actually play these horrible, damaged little characters that we've all created. Thank you so much for joining us. Grant, thank you for running it. Chris, Elaine, Chant, thank you for being a part of it. We will see you soon, presumably next week. But now that I've said that, who knows? Goodbye!
Bye!
Have a great day.
Bye.